I'm Jeff Lipman. I'm the president of a small not-for-profit organization called SUNx Malta. SUN stands for the Strong Universal Network, which I set up with my longtime friend Maurice Strong, who was the architect of the whole UN system on sustainability and climate response. And we wanted together to bring it to the travel industry. And the X stands for existential, which is what climate crisis is. And I was fortunate to find an old friend in Malta when we set this up who said this sounds like the kind of thing we'd like to support. And they've been a wonderful support for what we've been doing for the past few years.
And what brings you here to the Global Summit?
I was the first employee of this organization back in 1990, and I was its president for 10 years. And I'm very much a supporter of what WTTC stands for, what it's doing, how it operates. And it was the 25th anniversary. So I kind of figured I don't have that many years left. Maybe this is just a chance to come experience another summit, meet some old friends. And I'm still focused on climate response. I have a project which we call Dodo for Kids, which is aimed at a group of people that I don't think most people in the travel and tourism industry focus on. And that's the early learners, 5 to 12-year-olds. They travel, they go on holiday with their family. They need to do something when they go. The parents need to keep them occupied, been there, done that. And I was looking for people who might like this program, which produces books and cartoons about iconic places and the challenges that they're going to have with climate change. And because these kids are going to be the decision makers when the real climate crisis bites. Because there's nothing going to go away, it's only going to get worse and worse. So I came here to sort of find some people who might like that idea, might want to sponsor a program, help us print some books, put stuff on the internet, and that's it.
It's a brilliant concept, and I wish you all the best with that.
Well, thank you.
In your time since being employee number one to today, 25th anniversary, as you say, what's changed and what's remained the same?
I think the contacts between key people, industry people, industry-leading organizations, government people, that was always important to us at WTTC when we started. And for the people who did start WTTC, this was always in their mind. Because at that stage, tourism didn't have a place on the government's agenda. And there were no figures. We put the first figures together back in 1990. I ran around the world telling people, hey, this is 10% of GDP. And people laughed and said, don't be stupid. And I persisted. In fact, somebody told me that they used to say, oh, here comes Mr. 10% again, but I did it. And I can still see WTTC is performing that function of producing the kind of real data which is still scattered all over the economy. The challenge with tourism is it doesn't exist formally in the national accounting systems that governments use. And we were the first people who went into those accounting systems, pulled a little bit, this is in hotels, this is in transport, and brought them together on computers and said, look, you add all this stuff up, driven by travel and tourism, and you have a big chunk of the economy. And I talked about 10%, but if you go to the Caribbean islands, for example, you're talking 25, 30%. And people began to listen. So we started to do that, and I think for the first 10 years we went to events like this around the world, in Latin America, in Singapore, and we got the attention right up at the top of government. I mean, I recall we had an AGM in Singapore. I was on a platform with Lee Kuan Yew. I mean, where do you get that opportunity? And in the audience, Bill Marriott, Paul Dubreuil, and Gerard Pellisson, who started the Accor Group. The chairman, Jim Robinson from American Express, they were all there listening, and the head of government in those days. Had never happened in tourism before. And I should say one other thing. It wasn't my idea. I was hired. The idea came from American Express, who felt that there was a need for this, and they set up the organization, and I was lucky, it was a wonderful opportunity, and as I look around here, I feel a certain a sense of, it was okay, you did good,
Absolutely, this is somewhat a legacy, right?
I mean, that's overplaying it, I was an employee, but I was in the right place at the right time, and hopefully, I think, if I'm not being too self-serving, with the right kind of mindset, which helped bring people in, many of whom were natural competitors, into a framework where they could see themselves as a collective sector which did not exist before, or not in any way that was sort of recognizable.
Well, Botticelli singing the national anthem, the Prime Minister of Italy, Tourism Minister of Italy. I think as you look back on this 25th anniversary, Jeff, I hope you can feel a some sense of pride and continuity in everything you started.
I have pride in looking around and seeing. And the biggest thing for me, seeing old friends. You've just interviewed Tony Fernandez. There is someone who is really contributing to the development of travel and tourism. We've been friends for years. Hadn't seen him for a long time, so we had a coffee together, and it's all about people in the end. At the end of the day, it's about, are you interacting with people in a way which is doing something which is decent, And there's so much in the world today which is not decent. It's good to be able to do that in this kind of a gathering.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for interviewing me. It's a pleasure.